So, so today's koan is considered one of the most important koans because it's considered to be a warning to Zen students. Stepping down from a 100-foot pole, main case. Master Sekiso said, "How will you step forward from the top of a 100-foot pole?" Another eminent master of old said, "Even though one who is sitting on the top of a 100-foot pole has entered realization, it is not yet real. He must step forward from the top of the pole and manifest his whole body throughout the world in 10 directions." Mumon's commentary. If you can step forward and turn your body around, there will be no place where you are called dishonorable. Even so, just tell me, how do you step forward from the top of the 100-foot pole? And that's a word that's written. The clearing of the throat. It's actually in the text. The verse, making the eye on the forehead blind, one clings to the mark on the scale, throwing away body and life. One blind person leads many blind people. Mm-hmm. So I still remember the first time I heard this koan, and of course I'm picturing it literally, I don't remember if it was my Zumi Roshi that I heard it from or Tenshin, but anyway, it was early in my Zen practice that I heard this koan. So I'm picturing, like those circus people who stand on stilts. He's up on one tall stilt, with 1 foot juggling, and I'm picturing him stepping forward off this stilt, this 100-foot pole, going, "There's nowhere to go but down." So that was my picture of what that was. Wrong picture, but it was certainly funny in my mind to kind of picture that. Why is this a Zen koan? What are they talking about? But this the 100-foot pole is a metaphor for people who get stuck in emptiness. So people, and this happens, and you see this a lot, because emptiness is very seductive. It feels good. I mean, once you achieve that level in sitting, and it happens invariably if you sit long enough, you will reach the point where the bottom just drops out, and you're in this space of just absolute peace and tranquility and equanimity. Nothing's going on. It's peaceful and still, and it's just like, okay, I'm moving in. I'm staying here because this is the perfect place. Let me just stay here forever. And you want to, it's this amazing feeling. It's this oneness, this belonging, this lack of separation that is overwhelming and is absolutely intoxicating. So yeah, people want to stay there. I wanted to stay there. And it's happened several times where the bottom's just dropped out. I'm like, yes, here it is. Okay, good. Just don't move. Right here. But that's and over and over again, wanting to stay there, despite the fact that the next thing on the agenda is a chant that says, this achievement of emptiness is not yet enlightenment. It says it. And even Shakyamuni got stuck there. He basically, his enlightenment was not his Kensho realization of sitting under the Bodhi tree. His enlightenment was when he got up and went back to teach his friends, who of course were not going to appreciate him very much because he had just broken all the ascetic rules that he had vowed to take. So stepping forward or stepping off this 100-foot pole is the next step. After that achievement of Kensho, that Satori, that amazing feeling of complete equanimity with the entire universe. Now what? What's next? And it's really about letting that go, letting every aspect of that go. Getting stuck there is what's called Zen sickness. And and there have been innumerable times, I don't know how many times I've come in to answer a koan and given some Zen cliche, and tension picks up the bell and says, ugh, stinky. And I just laugh. I'm going, okay. Because it needs to come from your direct experience right here, right now. And that direct experience is never a cliche, never something that's from the past, never a story. It is always brand new and fresh. And not caught up in what these old dead guys have said for a couple thousand years now. So Zen is consistently about letting go of stuff, including your enlightenment, including what you think is correct or the answer or the right thing. You let go of it, you question it, you move on, you go back into the marketplace and you deal with people as they are. You meet them where they are. And there should be no smell or look of Zen at all. And certainly, and you see people who get stuck. They're the ones who, back in the day when it was, all the we were mired in ritual at Zen Center Los Angeles back then, because Maizumi Roshi hired the ritual master. I'm sure he has a title. I'm not sure what it is, from Eheiji to teach us the rituals at Zen Center Los Angeles, because we just could not get it right. And there were some things that he gave up on, because there is some elaborate rituals that go on during service. So one of the most beautiful I've seen, I saw it at Eheiji when I was there, was there's this position called a denon, and the denons pass out the books, which is kind of what you do just before the chant, and it's timed so that everybody has a book. So when you've got a hall full of 400 monks, and you got to get all those books out to those people, the choreography required to disseminate those denons so that the books are passed out is amazing to watch, because it's like a Broadway show. Bob Fosse has directly choreographed how those guys are getting out to all the books, and the person doing the chant has his own denon, who comes around this whole group of people, because he has to have the book first. So he's moving at the same time as the other people, but moving faster and in a particular format, and does this pirouette and just springs down and has the book just as the opens his mouth to say Maha Prashna. It was like, I was like, okay, wow, that does not deserve a Tony. I don't know what does. It was just amazing. So Maizumi Roshi gave up on us. We could not get it right. So it took him years of trying to help, us trying to do these rituals. We got some of them, it became somewhat Americanized, but we never got it as smooth and choreographed as the Japanese did, as the Heiji did. Um, but back in those days, people would get we would get obsessed with these rituals, and so one of the rituals we had was eating a lot of oryoki bowls. And oryoki it means just enough. It's a way of all the meals. Everybody had their own set of bowls, and there was a chant and ritual of how to take out the bowls and how to receive the food and how to clean your bowls and put all the bowls back. So it was this very tightly constructed ritual. So there was one time I went out to a restaurant and I see someone with their oryoki bowls, and I'm like, what is it? And I'm watching, seeing what this person is doing, and they get out their chant, and they start doing their chant. And I'm like, we're in Denny's. What are you doing?
For hamburgers.
What?
For hamburgers.
Yeah, I know when he was going to put those bowls. I had to stop staring because I was getting a little obvious. So I was like, okay, there it is. There's the Zen sickness. When you get really attached to something you think is, pure and better than, and is, it's Zen. So it becomes, this be all and end all of everything. I remember Jokai Roshi's talk after he had transmission, and it was kind of surprising. I just had to, applaud him on that, because he said, in my entire life, I've never practiced anything that was Zen. So that was his opening line. I was like, okay, you go, boy. Because Zen isn't anything. It isn't any one thing, and it is all things. It does not exclude anything else. It's about the practice of living your everyday life and being present in your life as it is, not trying to make it into some pretentious ritual that everyone wants it to be. I tried to get that across in tea ceremony. No one listens to me, because tea ceremony is another very ritualistic way of making tea, and it looks very performative. It's not. It's about creating the best possible atmosphere for your guests to drink a bowl of tea, and it's about being of service. That's what Zen is. Zen is about being of service. It's about saving all sentient beings. And when we get stuck in these rituals, or in these feelings of enlightenment, of emptiness, that's when it starts to become this horrible, addiction that can turn on you. It's someone doing oryoki in Denny's. That's it's just there's those are the type of people that you give wide berth, because who knows what the next step is with that. So it can be, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It can become this addiction. It can become this sickness that, unless people are willing to continue working. Yes, yet that is not to diminish the importance of that experience of complete emptiness, and that dropping away of body and mind. The body and mind dropped away. One of the most experiences of your Zen training, of your Zen practice. But then the next important experience is letting that go, because it doesn't work to be stuck there. The most important part is to move on. How do you then go back into the marketplace? Because if you're going back into the marketplace, levitating, people are going to avoid you. You're going to get arrested and locked up. So, and that's really not what it's about. Because after that, the Chin-Oxering pictures, depicts that feeling, that empty circle. It's interesting, because in Eiken Roshi books, he says it's the 8th picture, but I think it's the 9th. I have to look. It's the 9th picture that has the empty circle, and then the 10th picture is him going back, riding the ox backward back into the marketplace. He's just enjoying life and having a good time, and he's not worried about his enlightenment because he's riding the ox backward, um, playing his flute. So he's retained the peace and tranquility that he gained, but at the same time he's going back to do shopping, to take care of what needs to be done, to live his life. That's the more important part. Is in time and time again, you've heard Zen teachers say, um, it's about everyday life. It's about everyday practice. It's not about sitting on this cushion. This cushion is a good foundation. It's a good place. It's a good place to start, but it doesn't stay here. Your cushion goes with you wherever you go. Um, that's the most important part. So this person stuck on the 100-foot pole. Um, great, they got there, but now what? What good are they up on that 100-foot pole? Um, what good are they for themselves or for the rest of the world? So that 100, you got to move. It's safer to say step forward, although what are you stepping into when you step off a 100-foot pole? If you are indeed 100 feet up, and you feel like you're 100 feet up, where's there to go? Gravity is inevitable, so you're going to come down to earth, which is really where the practice is, where the enlightenment is. It's where the rubber hits the road, literally. And that's the most important part. That's the most important part of the realization, is letting that go, having the experience and letting it go. And even Dogen was critical of his teacher, who complimented him on his accomplishments. I've experienced dropped away body and mind. But you've got it. And he says, don't compliment me on something that's temporary. And he goes, now you double got it. Because you dropped away body and mind, and your body and mind has dropped away. So that's the essence of this 100-foot pole. It's so simple, but that doesn't diminish the importance of that 100-foot pole, of that experience, of that touch, that momentary touch of emptiness, is an important part of the Zen experience, because without it, you don't have the next experience, which is taking it back with you. Once you have it, once you've tasted that, there is no going back. There's no undoing that. So letting it go doesn't undo it. It doesn't get rid of it. You've had that experience, and there's no taking that back or taking it away. It goes with you into that next experience, and you'll never be the same again after that. That's and people have become overwhelmed by that experience. There's folklore of some woman having that experience, taking off all her clothes and running around in her koji, and then she became so embarrassed that she went away and never came back.
She ran out the front gate.
She ran at the gateless gate. She kept going. And other people, and even a couple of the koans of which, Ikon Roshi describes, a couple of people coming into where he was practicing and having those experiences confirmed by the teacher, but then they go away. We don't know what happened to them. Did they continue practicing? So the whole thing is that the practice doesn't stop there once you have that realization. So that's only half of it. So the continuing of practicing to get the rest of it for the rest of your life is what's important. And that practice can look like any number of ways. So I'm not necessarily saying that you have to chain yourself to a cushion, because the practice doesn't necessarily stay on the cushion. But you have to continue practicing, continue learning, and take that next step. Let go of that experience, because it's past. It's historic. And if you hang on to that, you won't have any more. The full cup, you can't put anything more in it. So empty it out. Let it be what it is. Let it step off that 100-foot pole and see what happens. And it really is about taking that chance, because I can tell you from firsthand experience, I didn't want to go. I was like, no, let me stay here, please. This was so good. Does it come in a pill form?
It does.
Well, yeah, well, that could be a problem. And Joko Beck even described being disappointed, with her life experience, because it can feel somewhat isolating and sad, because it's so vast that it can have this effect. It affects people differently emotionally. So certainly, highly recommended. Taste it, try it out, have the experience, let it go, because being stuck there doesn't work. And it looks weird to people. Orioki at Denny's. No, that doesn't work. And you'll see it. You can sense it. Because I've met people who are kind of stuck in their emptiness, and as soon as they open their mouths and start to say something, you're like, oh, yeah. And it's kind of sad, because they are truly stuck, and they may not ever become unstuck. And there are cases like that. So that's kind of the danger of Zen. It can intoxicate you to the point of being addicted to that particular feeling, despite every piece of literature saying that's not it. Let it go. But it does feel like it is. It's so all encompassing. So just to share with you what Shibuyama said about it, since he's new to me, it's kind of refreshing reading what he said. Oops, there it is. You may have trained yourself, he's quoting Mumon, you may have trained yourself well, throwing away your body and laying down your life, and you may now have reached the top of the pole, 100 feet high. But I tell you, if you have any attainment at all, cast away every bit of it. Unless you step forward from the 100-foot pole, that is, unless you are so well trained as to live peacefully as an ordinary man or an ordinary person in the world of differentiation, your attainment is of no use. It will be like a blind man leading other blind people. So that world of differentiation, the dualistic world, which is the world we deal with on a day-to-day basis, where everyone thinks they're right, and everyone who thinks they're right thinks that everyone else is wrong. That's the world that we have to skillfully live in, and skillfully trying to be above it all on our 100-foot pole doesn't work very well. So how do we take that experience of that 100-foot pole into everyday life, into duality, and meet duality as it is, where it is, as it's manifesting, where people are, as they are showing up in our lives? That's what this is, the warning of this cohort. As and I won't tell you who said this, but the person who, because he would love to make these call-ins as crude as possible, because yeah, you've got that 100-foot pole stuck up your ass. You are, you are no good to nobody. So, comments? Yes.
So I've had something, I came to this experience during a session a few years ago, and during the time that was going on, I had my iPhone, so I was taking pictures of what I was seeing, because it was, I was sure that the pictures would be extraordinary. And then I went into a Dokusan with the Jokai and told him about this experience, and he said, the mind candy.
Yes.
That's what you had, mind candy.
Yeah. That's great. That's perfect for me because it means like my gummy bears. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, it is. It feels good. It tastes good. But too much candy will make you and everyone else around you quite sick. Um, yeah. So the question is, it's a matter of functioning. How do you do it? What is that next step? How do you train yourself? Because it won't happen just once. You'll have these experiences, these Kensho experiences over and over again with sitting. How do you let that go and move forward? Uh, Remove the 100-foot pole from your ass and keep going.
Well, I mean, for better or for worse, most of us have lives to lead, and we're out in the marketplace every day, so we can't stay on the 100-foot pole.
Yeah.
We have to be present. I mean, if we're serious people, we have to be present with our lives, and then I think we have to interact and carry what our practice is into that environment.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. That's what we have to do, without a trace or thought of, what am I supposed to do now? What would be the Zen thing to do?
Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing. So what's the Zen thing to do here? Why am I thinking that? That's not a Zen thought. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, your example of the person doing Orioki and Denny's, that's your idea about what she's doing. You don't know what she's doing.
I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I'm projecting all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you're doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, we have no idea. And so all you know is that there's this person doing these things that you can see, but that's it. You might have talked to her and find out, well, what is this?
Yeah.
And she might have said, oh, I got this stick for these bowls for Christmas, and try to figure out, like, where do you put this and where do you put that? Who knows?
Good, but whole other story.
Yeah, it's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Again, I think it goes back to being present, paying attention, and then doing your best. That's, I think, all we can do in that environment, and not being attached to some idea of what we should be doing or some idea of the result we should be obtaining.
Right.
That may be there, certainly in my practice, it is my work, but I can't function that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and certainly, I know when I was doing the HR work, the way it showed up for me was the cessation of judgment. I was able to sit and just listen without, because because certainly being at a medical center, one particular medical center for a long period of time, you have repeat customers.
Yeah, those repeat offenders.
The people who are in trouble for the same thing over and over again. And so for me, the practice of letting go of my 100-foot pole was also the practice of letting go of any previous judgment I had about people coming to see me, and listening to them, as if it's new. And that there were some really great results for me for that, because there were some things that I hadn't heard before, because I was stuck in my judgment, said, oh, here he is again. But being able to drop my judgment of it, just as dropping the 100-foot pole, allowed me and gave me some different ideas of how to resolve that issue. So the practice itself of letting go, it can be beneficial. So and this world of differentiation, this world of duality is the world we live in. It's the world we have to deal with. it can't be what we want it to be. It is what it is. And how do we do that? Obviously, our Zoom audience is decided not to. Today it was nice and cool and cloudy this morning. I was like, "Where's my book?"
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay there, not make any noise.
Look at the cats.
Yeah, my cat didn't even raise his head. He sleeps on the foot of the bed. He looked up, says, "You could just go back to sleep." So going on to the verse, which I thought was quite apt, making the eye on the forehead blind. Um, so there are a lot of different ideas of this third eye in different cultures. In Zen culture, third eye is enlightenment. So having the eye of enlightenment blind, because if it's stuck in one spot, because life flows. Life doesn't stay in one place. It can't get stuck. If it's stuck, then it's it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not alive. So it is blind in that sense. One clings to the mark on the scale. And we're talking about this the scale and with the balance thing in the middle. So obviously, if your eye is, if you're stuck in this emptiness, you've decided that because in that emptiness, everything is perfectly balanced. Everything is total equanimity. So that mark on the scale, no matter what you put on it, you've decided that scale doesn't move. And you have to make it stay that way artificially, because it doesn't stay that way naturally. Naturally, things are going to come in, things are going to weigh one way or another. So getting stuck, basically closing that eye of enlightenment and hanging on artificially to this total equanimous scale, throwing away body and life. One blind person leads many blind people. And you've had examples of teachers who also stuck in this emptiness, who do horrendous things, who are leading communities and have led them down very dangerous paths. And there are consequences when that happens. So it's an important aspect. It's an important warning for Zen practitioners that all that glitters is not Zen. There are some appropriate steps and appropriate ways of practice, and because you have this experience while sitting on the cushion, it is not the be all and end all of your Zen practice. As a matter of fact, it's just one little aspect of it, and the next aspect comes from letting that go and moving to the next aspect, continuing the practice in whatever way will work for you to get beyond that. And the best thing to do is to go in and in your exuberance tell a Zen teacher and see how they respond, because the response will be disappointing. Because they will tell you in no uncertain terms, go back to your cushion and let that go. An important lesson, an important aspect, but it is where oftentimes where people do get stuck, maybe not permanently, but for a while, people will want to hang on to that. So recognize it and don't get stuck there. And Eiken Roshi does offer a different interpretation. I'm not sure I like it, but in case you want it, you're welcome to his alternate way of viewing that blind. Where did he put that? Okay, I thought I marked it. Sorry, didn't highlight it because I had highlighted other things. Anyway, those of you who have the book, read it. I apologize. It's somewhere in there. So he gave an alternate interpretation of the blind leading the blind leading the blind. Too many words. No longer have the attention span. All right.